Let's talk about Dave Ramsey's baby steps. This time, baby step number 2. The debt snowball is one way of tackling debt. And if you follow Dave Ramsey, this is the way you are attacking your debt. This is the way you're doing it. So what is the purpose of the debt snowball? The debt snowball is to pay down your debt, to pay off all debts except for your mortgage. If you don't have a mortgage, then that means all debts for you. But if you do have a mortgage, that's typically the highest amount, other than maybe student loans. Typically a mortgage is the highest amount, dollar amount in a debt, a single debt. And so the focus is to take care of everything except for that, because there are other things more important to take care of before we get to paying down the mortgage. So there are other steps after baby step 2. Paying down your mortgage isn't until baby step 6. So yeah, there's other priorities and how to pay down debt. There are many ways that this can be tackled. Everybody has a little bit different take on it, and this particular way doesn't necessarily work for everyone, but this is the Dave Ramsey way. So I'm not here in this video to debate whether or not this is the way it should be done. I'm here to share with you how it's done via Dave Ramsey's baby steps number 2, the debt snowball. At this point, I have posted our video that is our debt confession. If you haven't seen that yet, I will link that down below, because it is a perfect example of how a debt snowball can work, and I'm really looking forward to getting some traction because I'm going to use the debt snowball method. So what this is it doesn't matter what kind of debt it is other than your mortgage, which you set aside. Every other type of debt that you have, you list them out. You list each one by name, and you put the dollar amount for each one next to it. And when you're done, if you're in an Excel spreadsheet, you will sort that spreadsheet by lowest amount to highest amount on your debts. If you're doing it on paper, you will just need to rewrite it out for yourself, showing the lowest one first to the highest balance. So you've done that. You can see them all. Now there's something to be said for this exercise. So for me, it was very therapeutic. I am a nerd. I am the nerd of our relationship. And, I'm not ashamed of that at all. I have owned that for a very long time. And so for me, having to go find all of our debts and write them down, while it was time consuming and it is emotionally draining, it was what I needed to do to be able to see exactly what we were up against. For me personally, knowledge is power, and that's not like that for a lot of people, but for me, what it is the more I know, the better equipped I am to tackle the problem, the issue, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter what category it falls into in your life. The more information I have, the better equipped I am to deal with it. So that's where I prefer to be. I have told Matt from very early on, over communication is key. The more information I have, the better. We're all going to be happier for that in the end. So this was no different. This was finding out exactly what we had. And our list is very long. It's very long, and I don't think we have everything on there. I think there are at least 3 items that are missing off of that list. And I don't know how much they are. In fact, 2 of them, I know they're credit cards. I don't even remember who they're with. my point in sharing this is this part of figuring out exactly what you have out there, hanging out there, is so important so that you know where you're starting. Now, again, we're starting our debt snowball without knowing every single detail. That will come over time. I do plan on digging into that. We're going to run our credit report, and we are going to take a look and see if there's anything else out there for either Matt or I that we need to be putting on to our credit report. So the goal for the debt snowball, by the way, is that you are current on all of your debts. You are current, and you are paying the minimums on all of your debts. And that is the goal, and that is not where we are, just to be clear. So starting with your smallest debt, you get that paid off as soon as you can using at least the minimum payment, and you throw anything extra that you have at the end of the month toward that debt until it's paid off. So if your lowest amount of debt is $100 and your normal payment is $10 a month on that, but this month you happen to have $150 extra dollars sitting there that you know that you can throw towards debt, guess what? You've just paid that first debt off, because you can use $90 of that $150 to pay off your $100 debt. Fantastic. Great, check that off the list. That is a win. The point of this is you have a quick win. That's why he wants you to start with the small stuff. Doesn't matter the interest rate, you start with the smallest balance. Doesn't matter how old the debt is, you start with the smallest balance. It doesn't matter who it's with, you start with the smallest balance. You pay that one off as quickly as you can. Now, in my example, you've now paid off the debt that has a $10 per month minimum payment. So let's say your next lowest balance is $200, and you've been working on that, and that has a $25 minimum payment. And so normally you're paying $10 on your first one, $25 on your second, and whatever the rest of them are. But now you've paid off that first one, that $100 debt is gone. So next month you are going to take that $10 minimum that you are paying on the first debt, and you're going to add it to the minimum of the next debt. That minimum is $25, so next month you're going to pay $35 on your $200 debt. And you'll see that you'll be able to pay that off. Oh, and by the way, you had $60 extra left over last month that you've already thrown at your $200 debt. So now it's $140 and you're paying $35 a month. If that's all you can pay, you have that next one paid off in 4 months. But I'm betting if you're doing this and you are writing a budget and you're following it every month and giving every dollar a name on paper on purpose before you get it, or as soon as you get it, that you will have extra money every month to pay towards your debt snowball. That's the goal. If you are budgeting, you are in control of your money, and you are paying attention, and you're probably not spending as much money as you used to. For instance, I love iced coffee, and I used to stop a couple times a week at McDonald's, or Starbucks is my favorite, but that's way expensive. And instead of doing that, a couple weeks ago, I decided to start making my own iced coffee, because then I can have it guilt-free. I have the coffee, and I have to buy creamer. And I have more control over what's in it. So I don't have as much sugar and fat in it, because I prefer to not have as much sweet in it. I just want a little bit to cut through the bitter. Well, when you go to the stores and get this stuff, like at Starbucks, I always have to make my order with half the syrup, no matter what size I get. And please only put half syrup in, because I can't, it's way too sweet for me. So people who are paying attention to their money are doing things like that. So getting back to, you have a $35 minimum payment on the second lowest debt, and you get that paid off. And so now that $35, let's say your next highest debt was $1,000, and it's a $50 a month payment that you were making. It was a minimum payment of $50 a month, and now you have your $35 available from the other one, and so now you're tacking that onto the $50, and now you're paying $85 a month towards that $1,000 debt. And every time you pay off a debt, whatever it was, the minimum that you were paying every month, so this one now is $85, if that's what your minimum payment is that you are paying on that every month. Now there's the required minimum, and then there's what you're paying. So whatever you're paying monthly is what needs to be rolled into the next debt. So imagine now you freed up, that third lowest debt is paid off, and now you freed up another $85 a month to pay on the next debt. So you can see how it's the snowball effect. If you think about a snowball, if you put it together, you pack it in your hand and you roll it down the mountain through the snow, as it goes, it's going to, every turn it makes, it's going to gather more snow, and it's going to gather more snow and get bigger and bigger and start going faster because of the physics of it all, and it's, you know, the momentum and all that good stuff. And so it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it's going to get to the bottom of the mountain, and it's just going to explode, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be a fantastic explosion at the end of the hill, at the bottom of the mountain, because you put everything you had into that. And for this to really work, you gotta really, really hate your debt. I haven't really talked about that yet, but I feel that inside. I feel that deep down, like I am so ticked off at this debt. I am just done. And sorry, I'm parking, so I'm going in circles. So I am ready to tackle this thing, and we don't have traction yet, but by golly, we are going to have it soon, and I cannot wait to see it, because when you see our list, you'll see how there are a whole bunch of small ones. There's a bunch of stuff that's under $1,000 each. There's a bunch of them. Probably 10, 15 of them are under $1,000. So when you think about every time you take the, you know, this is of course once we get all of our minimums going, but every time I take the minimum payment off of one to add it to the next one, and I quickly get that paid off, and I add that, all of that to the next one, and I quickly get that paid off, because they're all so little, and most of them are $10, $15, $20, $25 a month is what we have to pay on most of those. Now here's the thing, going back to just the principles of baby step 2. It's important that if life happens and you have to dip into your emergency fund for something, that you do that, but then you stop your debt snowball for a period of time and use all of your extra. You go back to paying minimums on all of your debt, and anything extra you were paying towards your debt now goes into your emergency fund again, because you have to get back to $1,000. So you always want to have $1,000 in the bank. So you want to get it back to $1,000 as soon as you can, and then you jump right back in where you left off at the baby steps, in your debt snowball, excuse me. You jump right back into where you left off in your debt snowball. This is so important. Baby step number 1 is so important to your success in baby step number 2, because the whole goal of this is that you will never, ever take out debt again for any reason. No matter what, you will find another way. It's as simple as that. Now, in theory, that sounds so easy. My point when I say it's simple is not because I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence. This actually, the act of doing all of this is difficult. That doesn't mean it's not a simple concept. The concept is very simple. This is not complicated at all. This is You get $1,000 in the bank, and then you start on your debt snowball. And if you have to use any of your $1,000, you stop your debt snowball and go back and get $1,000 in the bank. And then you go back to your debt snowball. And you may have to do that multiple times while you are in baby step 2. You have to stay focused during these baby steps, during all of them. But baby step 2 is the one that will require the most, it will probably be the most emotional part of this journey. And I'm not kidding myself here. This is going to be tough. While Matt seems to be doing okay with spending right now, we're really, really early in this whole thing. And I haven't been great. I have not been sticking exactly to the budget as we wrote it down. So I'm already struggling with it. When you don't have another person to bounce it off of and to be the voice of reason and your accountability partner, it's really easy to slip up because you can justify things in your mind. If you're not saying them out loud and reminding yourself constantly of why you're doing this, it is so easy to just go back into your old ways and, oh, this $50 purchase isn't going to matter. But it will. That $50 you could have paid this month, that has, for most debts, has an impact on the amount of interest you have to pay. If you would have just paid that $50 towards your debt, that's that much less interest that you have to pay month over month over month. So, anyhow, baby step number 2. It's going to be one of the biggest challenges you're going to have. And it's not going to be easy. So I encourage you to plug into Dave Ramsey's show, whether it be because you're watching it on YouTube or because you're listening to it on the radio or because you are listening to his podcast of his show. Plug into others out here. I don't know of any blogs, but I know there are a ton of vlogs like this one out on YouTube. If you search for Dave Ramsey's baby steps or Dave Ramsey or getting out of debt or any of those types of things, holy cow, you will find a ton of people out here are doing the same thing. So go listen to them. Let them help you understand that being weird is okay. And that the things that you're going through during this journey are normal. And it's not just you. You're not the only one who is hating your debt. You're not the only one who is feeling frustrated. You're not the only one who is struggling to stay out of Starbucks or out of Target or whatever your vice might be. We're all going through it. It's a little different for each one of us, but every person and family that's out here doing Dave Ramsey's baby steps is going through the same thing. Call Dave and talk to him. Whoops. I can't imagine what it would be like to actually call in and talk to Dave himself and have him talk to me about my specific situation and help me understand what I need to be doing next. And man, I really need to get a hold of him. I've been thinking about it every day this week, since the weekend. I really need to call into Dave's show. Actually, it was since last week because I was out sick for a couple of days from work. But those were the days when I didn't have a voice and I was coughing all the time and I was sick and I was exhausted and I didn't have the patience for sitting on hold and waiting. If you've ever called into a big show like that, typically if you get through, you end up waiting quite a bit of time to get into the queue so that you can talk to the host. So anyhow, yeah, I should do that. I definitely should do that sooner than later. So baby step number 2, the debt snowball. You've completed baby step number 1 with $1,000 in the bank, and now you're going to tackle your debt head on. You're going to be paying the minimums on everything, and any extra that you have from anywhere, whether it be because of cost savings that you are experiencing, because of your behavior changes, or if it's because of additional income that is coming in, like that $25 check I got from the doctor's office. If we were at a point where we were paying on minimums, I could have just thrown that at my lowest debt. So however that comes to you, every extra dollar that you get goes towards your debt snowball. And you just tackle that thing with a vengeance. And you start with the smallest one, and then you take whatever you were paying towards that and you add it to the next one when it's paid off. And then when the second one's paid off, you take whatever you were paying towards that every month and you add it to the payment for the third one. And you just keep doing that and building that traction, and before you know it, you are going to be amazed at the huge dent you're putting in your debt every month. So I wish you all the best of luck. I wish us the best of luck, because it is a challenge, and I'm looking forward to that challenge. I accept that challenge and am ready to do this. That's all for now. I have to get into the office and start my day. So until next time.